to us.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to call upon Patricia Chartier and Kenneth Yurchuk. Thank you. If you can please introduce yourself for the record. You have 8 minutes to present, followed by 6 minutes from each of the recognized parties.
Yes, I'll be splitting my time with Pat Chartier. I'll be speaking for 4 minutes, and so will she, or about that. Anyway, good morning, and thank you for hearing my submission. I was planning to dress up for this, but I tried on my suit and realized I'd lost 65 pounds since the last time I wore it. Jenny Craig, eat your heart out. Anyway, thank you for hearing my submission on Bill 74 regarding proposed changes to the Ontario healthcare system. I'm a 4th stage colon cancer patient. My cancer has spread to my liver and possibly to my lymph nodes as well. And this isn't my first rodeo with cancer. So about 6.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with pulmonary lymphoma. I had a tumor on one lung about the size of a tennis ball and 3 smaller ones on the other lung. And thanks to the care I received, I survived that. Now, my concerns, I'd like to talk about my experiences with our existing cancer care system and my concerns about proposed changes, including rolling Cancer Care Ontario into the proposed super agency. Firstly, I'd like to say that I've had excellent treatment to date. From the moment I first went into emergency complaining of severe abdominal pain, through diagnostic imaging, biopsy which confirmed the presence of colon cancer, surgery to remove a section of my colon, and the subsequent chemotherapy, my experience has been excellent. The oncology team, doctors, diagnostic imaging techs, blood work techs, frontline nursing staff who had been administering my chemotherapy, the receptionists and administrators who made all my appointments and communicated with me, to the nursing connected to my local LHIN that removes the IV chemo bottle I take home with me. They've all been efficient, compassionate, and above all, kept me informed every step of the way. Wait times have been minimal, and while my prognosis is not great, that is no way a reflection on the team which is helping me fight for my life. So I have to wonder, why the rush to fix something that obviously is not broken? The government has not been particularly communicative to cancer patients. I haven't received a single word on what the future will look like, because apparently nobody really knows for sure. So a lot of my concerns about the existential treatment I'm receiving are based on anxiety and stress about how this will affect my future treatment. Will diagnostic imaging services be privatized? Will blood testing be moved off-site from the Oncology Treatment Center at Trillium Etobicoke, where I received my treatment? If so, will my results reach my oncologist in half an hour like they do now? Or will it take a day or two? Will I have to make my own appointments and go to multiple sites instead of the one-stop shopping that I have now? Right now, my pain is manageable. This may not last. I've heard rumors about that pain management is on the privatization chopping block. This worries me and adds to my stress. Cancer is stressful at the best of times. Anxiety is always there. Our current system is designed to minimize additional sources of this stress. Cancer Care Ontario is working extremely well right now. Ontario once it is rolled into the super agency, will it still have the focus it does now? Will it still receive the funding it does now? Or will an ideological decision to privatize certain areas of healthcare, which has been communicated without details, put tax dollars into private pockets instead of into the care that cancer patients need? All of these questions require answers that until now have not been forthcoming from the government, other than in the form of meaningless slogans. Ending hallway health care. The answer to that is to get long-term patients out of acute care beds and into facilities that will better serve their needs, not to mess with systems that are working well for cancer patients. In conclusion, I'd like to thank the committee for a chance to be one of only 30 who will have a chance to submit on this bill. And a final question. Does the government really feel that 10 hours of submission on a bill that is as existential to health care of millions of people in the province of Ontario is sufficient. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Go ahead.
Okay, do I go now?
Yep, you have 3.5 minutes.
Okay. Good morning and thank you. I've never spoken much before about having breast cancer, and I would really prefer not to start right now, this setup being intimidating. But Cancer Care Ontario was there for me when I needed it, and I must rise above my nerves and be here for Cancer Care Ontario today. The suggestion that we can improve healthcare by dismantling Cancer Care Ontario and Trillium Gift of Life takes my breath away with its wrong-headedness and absolute risk for all patients. Just the inevitable chaos alone from the drastic transition is a recipe for unnecessary disaster. This even has national implications as people come from all over to be treated here. I don't want to live in an Ontario in which the needs of cancer and transplant medicine are lumped in with every other aspect of healthcare and forced to compete for attention from a small board. That makes no sense. In fact, it feels to me like a crime against the people of this province. Premier Ford's government has made it very clear that it has zero qualms about pulling the rug out from underneath vulnerable Ontarians. Why should cancer and transplant patients expect a different outcome? Speaking as a cancer survivor, I can tell you, you're never more vulnerable than when diagnosed. It happened to me on a sunny day in 2011. Routine mammogram, callback, biopsy, bam. I was a stranger in a strange land where nothing looked familiar, stable, or sure. On the day of my diagnosis, I felt there was nothing for me to grab onto except my husband's hand. And that's where Cancer Care Ontario, its excellence manifested in the University Health Network, came to my rescue. I quickly learned I could grab onto the wonderful team at the UHN. I could keep calm and chemo on, still scared stiff, yes, but confident of being in the best place possible. My treatment included mastectomy, chemo, radiation, and I got so many supports and these are the things that really enabled me to get through it with a modicum of grace. I took exercise programs, classes in managing side effects, and so on. I had the help of a brilliant psychiatrist. Shortly after my treatment, I attended a remarkable UHN and I think CCO seminar on breast reconstruction. When I said to the surgeons, you know, I just don't think I'm ready, they replied, and I quote, "That's okay. We'll be here for you if and when you are ready." 4 years later, I underwent reconstruction, which boosted my self-confidence more than I even care to admit. Yay me, and yay Cancer Care Ontario. In closing, for a long time after my treatment, I would wake at 2 a.m. and worry about cancer coming back. Today I wake and I worry that it will come back and Cancer Care Ontario will be gone. Premier Ford and Minister Elliott will have done to cancer patients what they did to the 4,000 people faithfully enrolled in the Basic Income Project and the families of autistic kids. Misrepresent your plans, pull the rug right out from under us, throw us into chaos, and then vilify anyone who protests. Some said last summer that Minister Elliott would temper the Premier's excesses, but she's given no indication of the courage to speak truth to power. And with this harmless plan coming down the pike, it's kind of late for her to start now. So given all this, can anyone in this room explain to me why my fears are not completely justified? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll begin with Mr. Mamakwa.
Thank you, Patricia and Ken, for having the courage to come here and for being warriors and fighting cancer, and also, coming forth with your truth-telling story of how you encounter and how you face, fighting for your life on this disease. And I know I come from a northern Ontario riding, the most northerly riding, and when we talk about cancer care, provision of cancer care services is very minimal at best and to non-existent. So we have a high rate of cancer in our community. So, but first off, just my question, if you've ever tried to contact the government to share your story or feedback on Bill 74.
Oh, that's what I'm doing right now. I've never felt they were that, open to hearing from people who were not friends of the Ford family. Do
you know of any cancer survivors or cancer advocates that have been consulted in the drafting of Bill 74?
I don't know about experts. I do know that not very many patients have been consulted. Certainly, as you heard from my presentation, most of my presentation consisted of questions because I got zero from the government. In fact, if it hadn't been for the opposition leaking certain documents about the super agency and about the government plans for healthcare, I wouldn't know anything. So quite frankly, what my concern is that this has been kept a deep, dark secret. The government's only allowing 10 hours of consultation on what's an existential system of care in this province. 10 hours. There are probably thousands of people who want to hear and want to present on what's going to be happening with our healthcare system. And you're limiting it to 30 people, a few minutes each. That's really disgusting. That's really, I'm almost at a loss for words. I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you. In viewing of the importance of Cancer Care Ontario to cancer survivors like yourself, do you think that government has the responsibility to reach out to cancer survivors before making such changes to the healthcare system?
I have so little faith. I'll go back to my original comments. They could reach out as much as possible, but you only get, as my mom said, one chance to make a first impression. That first impression was indelible, and I think it would be almost a waste of time.
One of the things that we hear is that the government claims that nothing will be changed when the Cancer Care Ontario is rolled into a super agency. What do you think of this claim?
Well, I'll respond to that if you don't mind. What we have seen so far, all right, one of the great promises of the Ford government has been not a single job will be lost. Well, I'll tell you what, already nurses are being laid off, teachers are being laid off, the ABA instructors and dozens and dozens of people working with autistic kids are being laid off. So based on performance, which is the best indicator, can we really depend on that? And I'm saying no. First of all, the super agency divided into these smaller teams will be looking at all sectors of the healthcare system. They won't be, like there won't be a single group like Cancer Care Ontario concentrating on a specific area of care. That's what's made our cancer care system in Ontario up to date one of the best in the world. We have the best outcomes in the world. We've got the best treatment in the world. And people from all over the world look at the Ontario model and say, hey, this is a system that works for cancer, all right? Maybe not every area of the healthcare system is as well organized or as well set up as Cancer Care Ontario, but we do know from the results and from what happens that our system with Cancer Care Ontario as a standalone agency does work.
1 minute. 1 minute to conclude.
Oh, okay. Just very quickly. So as I said in my submission, if you've got something that's working that well, why tear it apart? I got to ask, why tear it apart? That's all.
I know the Minister of Health has said that she's engaged thousands of patients in developing plans to overhaul the healthcare system that exists. I think you're the first two that I've met, that they said they have been engaged and, through this process.
Thank you, Mr. Mamakwa. We have concluded time,
Okay.
and I'm going to recess now until 2 p.m. this afternoon. Thank you very much. We're done. Our time, and we have to finish at 10 o'clock. And we must recess. People this afternoon to come in. Thank you very much for coming and presenting to us. We appreciate it.